Hello, I'm Philip Stoten. I'm at KATEK's Festival of Electronics here in Munich, and I'm joined by CEO and President Rainer Koppitz. Rainer, fabulous event, really fascinating. I particularly enjoyed the first keynotes from yourself and from Prime Pulse, and it was really fascinating for me to see the synergy between those. But what I really enjoyed, we've talked so many times about the speedboat principle and the importance of maintaining that. I was really interested when you started to use that as a reference for bringing together the diversity within the different countries within Europe and thinking them of speedboats. Talk to me a little bit about that and how you see that analogy.
Yeah, I think Europe could pretty much be like KATEK, or should be, or even must be like KATEK, meaning that we all realize that like KATEK is a fleet of speedboats, which are all, very, very different. They have different strength, different culture, different history, and to bring this all together to a group which is much, much, much stronger than just the addition of the components. The same is true with Europe. We have 27 countries in the European Union plus the UK, which should be a member of the Union as well. And what we see is that all the countries are extremely different, but if you combine also strength and you give them a joint mission, if you give the common strategy, which is not the case right now, this could be the strongest economic region in the world, above and beyond China and the US. And that's really, for me, it's really hurting that, we as Europeans are not getting this done.
And when we look at it just from a GDP point of view, Europe is a player on that stage, but only as a single Europe, not as individual companies. Germany cannot be that world force in the same way Europe can be. So I think that's a major game changer. You talked about technologies that you saw it was really important to develop in. One was AI, the other was quantum computing.
Yes.
We're very early or a long way from quantum computing being an everyday use, but Europe really needs to get on it quickly to have any chance of being part of that.
Yeah, we are still living a little bit, from our history, our economic history, the history of the inventions and the innovation which have been done by European inventors. Many decades ago. Like the first, the first kind of universal technologies which have been, electricity and steam power, and in those former centuries, the European inventors, they were absolutely leading in the world, and this was the reason for the rise of Europe. And if you look into, what kind of universal technologies are evolving right now, like artificial intelligence, or the next one to come in 2040, 2041, the quantum computing, then Europe is really losing the war right now. That doesn't mean that there are not, some single companies or heroes or inventors with some bright ideas, but in total, we are absolutely lost in space if you look into which amounts of money are going into this in China and in the US.
Yeah, there's no comparison, is there? And I think it's very important to get on that. And like you say, I think with AI, the race may have been run, but actually I've seen some incredibly creative European companies using AI.
We are using also in the future quantum computing, but we will use this as, we will pay for this. We will use this as, others will earn, the money, and we will need it and we will pay for it. And I think we should be, in a completely different position, a completely different role. We should be, inventing those technologies, and we should be the ones who monetize those technologies. And I really have to say we are not in this position yet, and I think we need to act now.
And just switching gear to the EMS industry, you've been at it a few years. I always look at KATEK as a company that's being forged in the middle of crisis after crisis after crisis. So some incredible learning experiences. When you look at 2023, what do you think are the key things that you've got to take care of to continue your success this year?
I think the key things is we need to choose wisely the battles we are going to take. That means that funding is very rare. Funding is very rare. So we really have to think about which kind of companies, and that's just an example, we are going to acquire. I mean, there are so many markets on the market right now, but the resources we have in the company and also the money is really rare. So we really have to think about, I mean, how to make best use of the fundings we have. So that's the first one. The second one is we need to make sure that 2023 and 24 will be the years of efficiency. Like Mark Zuckerberg said about Meta, 23, I never thought that Mark Zuckerberg is telling them that this, but 23 will be the year of efficiency. And that's the case, I think, for many companies in our industries as well. We need to make sure that with what we are doing, we earn money and we are making cash. And this also means that we have to say no to customers, and that there will not be something like a strategic customer, because the translation of a strategic customer is normally a customer you're not earning money with, but the customer is earning money with doing business with you.
Yeah, and when I look at what's happening this year, we're seeing some easing in the supply chain. That should bring some more cash back into other initiatives in the business. Is that something you're measuring on a monthly basis?
Yeah, we are measuring this on a monthly basis, meaning entity by entity, and also then on a group level, we are measuring how the inventory is evolving, and not as a kind of a KPI, abstract KPI, but a DIO or something like this, but really the absolute amount of inventory by entity, and then also the net value of the inventory, which means that if a customer is willing to pay for the inventory, which is in our books, I don't care about the inventory, advance payments, for instance, is of course something we have to deduct from the value, and then we have the net inventory. So we are measuring the net inventory, and we have action plans for each of the entities, which are being centrally followed up, so that we make sure that it's going down. And it went down the first time after many quarters in the fourth quarter. This was even better as I expected. I expected kind of a stagnation, but it went down for quite some millions. And not astonishingly, but I think I'm really pleased that this trend is now continuing also in the first quarter, and that's really important because, as you said in your presentation, cash is king. So we need to make sure that we turn this inventory back into revenue and then into cash, so that we can use this for investments into the future.
Yeah, and one of those investments is growing the business. You talked about Europe needing at least a handful of billion-dollar plus companies. I assume you're hoping to be one of those either in 23 or 24.
Absolutely, that's clearly the plan, and we are working on this, very hardly. And what I can tell you is that, I mean, two of the trends that you just mentioned, I mean, they are really in favor of us. One of the trends is relocation, which will help us a lot to have the organic growth in order to get closer to the 1 billion. And the other one is this trend to outsourcing. I mean, like you rightly said, I mean, 59% in Europe are still, let me say, subject for outsourcing. And I think we are pretty well positioned in order to take advantage of this. And, a lot of, a lot of our brain and our energy is right now going into the outsourcing initiative, meaning that we want to do at least one large outsourcing deal this year.
Yeah, and just once again, congratulations on today. I feel there's a real sense of collaboration within the people that are here. It doesn't feel like there's any competition, and you have some of your supposedly largest competitors here. So I think that's something to be very proud of. Thank you so much for inviting me, and enjoy the party, enjoy the rest of the event.
Thank you very much. Let's have a glass of wine together.